Welcome to another episode of the Office Altering Hiring and Empowering Solutions podcast. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. If you're a first-time listener, hopefully you'll become a long-time listener. As always, I'm your show host, Molly McGrath, founder of Hiring and Empowering Solutions and creator of this revolutionary podcast. You can check us out at hiringandempowering.com. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Cathy Sikorski. And today, we're going to be talking about Who Moved My Teeth, a critical survival guide for attorney, employees, and client caregivers. So, Cathy, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much, Molly. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. You know, I have to tell our listeners who just about all the amazing stuff that you have done. Cathy's a practicing attorney dealing in elder law. She's been a significant caregiver for the past 25 years, and she's going to share that journey with us that really tied into her why of getting into elder law in the first place. And Cathy does many, many national presentations, seminars, radio programs, and podcasts. She is a published author. Her first book, Showering with Nana, Confessions of a Serial Killer Caregiver, was released by Humor Outcast Press, Office Corner Books. She's also a #1 Amazon book author of Who Moved My Teeth, a practical and legal guide for adults and caregivers. She's contributing author for many various websites, Huffington Post, AARP, as She Source Women's Media Expert, and she's just been recognized in the financial and legal and agent organizations spaces is just a profound key educator and really a thought leader. So Cathy, thank you for taking the time. I know you're just got back from Greece and you were at the beach, and tomorrow you're hopping on a plane to go to Ireland for 2 weeks to see your new baby?
She's 8 months old, so new enough for sure. Yeah, my new granddaughter. Yeah.
Oh, how great. Oh, I love Ireland.
It sounds like I never work, Molly. It sounds like I just take vacations.
That's great. And that ties in very well when you're an author and a national speaker, huh?
Yes. Actually, it's so funny. When I left the beach to go do a speaking gig in Philadelphia and then went back to the beach when I was done. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Great opportunist.
Yes.
So give us a little story. Give us your backstory and talk to us a little bit about your journey.
So a lot of people say, how did you get into elder law? Because elder law as a practice at the bar is actually very young. You know, it's only maybe 20 to 30 years old, which in the world of law, of course, is nothing. And I didn't certainly start out as an elder lawyer because really when I started practicing law, there was no, quote, elder law, unquote. But I did early in my career, have a baby and practiced part-time while I was raising her. And when she was 2, my 92-year-old grandmother came to live with me. And that was my first caregiving experience outside of being a mom. And let me tell you something, raising a 2-year-old and a 92-year-old at the same time is quite an adventure. It is really, I think, the definition of a screwball comedy. That's pretty much what goes on. And consequently, I over the last 30 years, I have become a caregiver for 8 different family members and friends. Not my job, just really the caregiving piece. And in the midst of all that, I realized that this elder law issue is something that I personally just needed to know. And so I was a small town, general practice attorney, but started to hone my skills in elder law every year. I just got more and more convinced that I needed this personally and that many people were going to need it in the future. So here we are. Today, I am now an elder attorney. Yep.
And when you talk about way back when, raising a toddler as well as a aging, 92, did you say?
What did I say?
Yeah.
That it was a screwball comedy.
Yeah. Well, back then they didn't even have terminology for it. Now you can Google search sandwich generation.
Right.
A tremendous amount of resources to support you and help you navigate through that process. Yes.
Yes. I liken this and to the fact that back then as well, Molly, being a mom was something you had to hide if you were trying to do any kind of work in the corporate world, right? That was the dirty little secret. Oh my gosh, my kid is sick. I have to go home, or my babysitter didn't show up, or whatever it was. And that so much has changed. There's a lot of work-life balance, and people are trying to show that they're family friendly in the corporate world. So now the dirty little secret is caregiving. People don't want to say they're taking care of their mom in a nursing home. They don't want to, say, oh my gosh, I just got the call. I have to go to the hospital. Now we're dealing with very similar stuff in a very different context. And people are still embarrassed to admit in their work life that they are in fact a caregiver.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I know you and I've had this conversation many, many times. As you know, I do recruiting and staffing for small boutique law firms. And
Right.
so often when I present candidates, the question always is, tell me about their personal life. Do they have small kids? What's going on there? And often when attorneys will meet with candidates, that's the first question when I tell them, okay, tell me what worked, what didn't work, in areas of concern. And that's the biggest one. I'm just a little concerned they have a small baby or they have 4 kids in middle school or whatever
Right.
it might
Right.
be. And it's amazing to me, and not from a place of discrimination, but just from a deep place of compassion and empathy and understanding of saying, I know what a distraction that can be and how being a caregiver. And so often, and since you and I had this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
I started talking to, because by and large, I work in the estate planning and elder law arena as well. And I started saying, we started asking some questions about, talk to us about what else is on your plate from a place of caregiving as well, because they might not have kids. So
Right.
immediately you're like, oh, great, they're available from sunup to sundown, but that's
Yep.
not the case. So when we start talking about that, and especially in the space of elder law, I can't tell you how many candidates will come to us and I'll say, why do you want to work at this firm? Why do you want to work in estate planning and elder law? It's not
Mm-hmm.
sexy and glamorous. It's not necessarily, it's not like you're in the courtroom and
Right.
living out a TV show. Talk to me about why this area. And then when I get the giant why and their personal story,
Mm-hmm.
and I can present that, it just really brings home the impact for wanting to work in the firm, number one. But number two, I also tell the attorneys in the law firms that they're going to need a flexible schedule for this, and we have to take this into consideration. But when somebody understands this world,
Right.
them at 5% is better than most at 100. And their compassion and empathy that they communicate from the second they answer the phone is so much better than anybody else who shows up and appears to
Right.
not be a caregiver anywhere.
So it's a double-edged sword, but I say it in a good way. Sure, they're a caregiver, and so you may need to provide flexibility. But on the other hand, have you any comprehension that their understanding of your potential client's story is going to really seal the deal with these clients? Because they now know, yeah, I get what you're doing as a caregiver when you come in for elder law issues. I get what you're doing. I get that you need to deal with your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle. And I also understand that you need to do some of this stuff for you, which is one of my biggest things, is that caregivers don't even do the legal work for themselves. So you are bringing someone on board. If they have caregiving in their life right now, you're bringing someone on board who is just going to be a gold mine in terms of clients.
I love that. Tell us how your books and many of your amazing presentations that you provide out there in regards to a survival guide for attorneys and employees and caregivers, and let's maybe unpack it a little bit and talk about how it can support attorneys. Maybe it's a new person, a new attorney exploring in this area of law, and or a seasoned one that feels like they're not connecting with their clients, or they're not able to, and I don't like the term close, but
Right.
engage clients in the conference room. And it's not about the money. It's
Right.
about making impact and making a difference for them, and everybody feeling really good because we can make a difference for this family.
Somebody said to me, and Molly, I could have sworn it was you, but maybe not, but said to me, you practice hug law.
Yes, that was
hug
me.
law. Well, that was you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So let's go from there, right? You're practicing an area of law where people need a hug, want a hug, and want you to understand that about them. Okay. And there's lots of legal things you need to do for these people. And I even discuss this with women financial planners, because I think they have a special place in the heart of caregivers as well. If you bring your own story to the table, if you have such a story, and I don't even mean you have to tell them that story, I just mean you understand where they're coming from, your client on the other side of the table, you are going to be the kind of person that they instantaneously recognize as someone who understands this plight. Okay. And so your conversation is going to be exactly what you said, not about closing, but about, okay, I understand that you have this problem. I understand where it's coming from. I understand that we have to look at it from 5 different places. Let's talk about all of those things, because you already know that from your own personal experience, right? You are already schooled in how elder law is really a practical game that you've been playing for a very long time, probably. That's just bringing magic to the table. And your clients, your potential clients who are dealing either, like I said, with themselves or their parents or whatever, either they're there because they've learned this, that planning is essential and they're there to take, care of business, or they're doing it for their parents. But one of my favorite questions, when I have a client sitting at my table saying, I'm doing this for my mom, I need a power of attorney, her will is old, we need to update it, et cetera, and we will take care of it. And then at the end, I say, okay, this is great. You've done amazing things for your mom. Now, do you have these documents for yourself? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. And so I've now earned a second set of clients because I've earned them. They understand that I'm there to help everyone with this journey.
And everything that you speak on in regards to advocacy for the caregivers, you have so many amazing events that you have done. I just love, your mimosas and muffins for caregivers.
Yeah, that was fun. That was really fun.
Such great, fun, inviting, not heavy and hard language too that you put around your presentations, caring for a loved one with dementia. You just have, and I know that your whole branding and your niche in regards to, I think I saw a blog you wrote that if you're a caregiver, you must be laughing.
Right. Exactly.
It's true.
This is, and what's really funny is that once I start telling my funny stories about, how my grandmother lost her teeth, which is who moved my teeth. It comes from 2 places. It comes from my grandmother literally lost her teeth in my house. And it also comes from that famous book, Who Moved My Cheese, which is a very well-known business book about how you need to adapt to change within the corporate world, because it's coming for you. And you better learn how to adapt. And I truly believe that caregiving is the same thing in the corporate world, in the real world. It's coming for you. So you need to learn how to adapt, right? But when I tell these funny stories about my grandmother actually losing her teeth, there is almost without a doubt a funny story from every person sitting in that audience. And they are often inclined to share, which just really lightens the mood and lifts the burden off of all of us, because we are really sharing literally the burden, but we're also sharing that it's funny and fun and charming. And, it's all coming from a place of love for sure. Yeah.
How could some of your knowledge, some of your tips, techniques, books, education, if you're not an estate planning or elder law attorney, not familiar necessarily, of course, you're familiar with compassion and the terminology caregiver, how could an attorney that doesn't practice in this space be able to maybe use some of your resources, or what would be some drive-by coaching that you would give them should that conversation come up on their phones or their conference room?
So truthfully, I mean, it's likely that it's going to be coming up, their clients. So say you're a business attorney, right? This is what you do. You do corporate business work with your clients, but I can assure you that some of those people are caregivers, whatever. And you may have such a nice intimate relationship with these people that you've had for a long time. They're long-term clients. And you may get to the point where, hey, you know, how's your mom? How's your dad? They're not doing so well. They're in a nursing home, et cetera. I will not assume for any moment in time that you are not a compassionate person just because you're a business attorney. So assuming that you are that kind person who takes personal interest in your clients, you can now say, oh, wow, so this must be something that's, you know, been troubling for you. This isn't necessarily my area of expertise, but, you know, I know people in this field, or it's something that I think you should talk about. Maybe we can pursue that path together. But I think if you have personal relationships with your clients, it is very unlikely to me that you're not going to be coming across this conversation with them, even if you're not this kind of an attorney. Mm-hmm. And so what I would really like you to do, and I just had this conversation with a friend yesterday, is I can't know everything. I'm not a workers' comp attorney. So if my client comes in and we're working on their parents or whatever, and he got hurt at work, I'm going to send him to a workers' comp attorney, right? Collaboration is not a dirty word in our world. We're here to help and lift each other up. So maybe the best thing you could do is learn a little bit about elder law and find the good people that you trust who are doing this to send your clients to when the time comes.
Mm-hmm. And I would highly recommend too, it'll be in the show notes, but to read Cathy's blogs and or get her books, just to have that clip notes, if you will, that high level understanding for you and your team to be able to, like you said, collaborate. I call them power partners a lot of times, so you can support each other and just have high level language so you can communicate that while you do only do personal injury or what have you, you are a connector, and you belong to community, and locking arms with other attorneys that can support you. You're not a multidisciplinary practice, but you absolutely value relationships, connection, community, collaboration, so we can support you and just refer you out.
And I love what you said, Molly. You know, I mean, my book is meant for you know, the everyday reader. You know, it's meant to distill legal terms and legal things that they're going to run into and help them get a clearer understanding, and also bring actual questions to their lawyer. So it's the kind of book that would be great for an attorney in another area of practice to have as a little, you know, thumbnail handbook to say, okay, now I know what they're talking about. I know what the questions are. I know what I could be asking them. And now I'm going to send them to a lawyer who I hope also, you know, is really the expert in this field. It's a great idea.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So talk to us about employees and how we can enroll our employees into really understanding what it means to be a caregiver, what it means to serve as a role as an elder law attorney, and how the person that's answering the phone can get an insight into, versus not having to wait for the attorney to do it in the conference room, but do it from the very beginning. Because most people calling into a law firm in regards to, if they're the caregiver, they're exhausted.
Yes.
They are just absolutely depleted. Nobody is typically giving them a tremendous amount of accolades, letting them know that there's support for them that helps on the way. So when they're calling in, the reason, you know, I've heard this term recently about anxiety is that, and when people are feeling anxiety, it's because of three things. They don't feel safe, they don't feel valued, and they don't feel cared for.
Wow. That's really interesting. Wow. You just made me think I should start a whole program for the front, you know, the front desk person, the person who your client meets first.
That would be fantastic.
Who's in an elder or estate law firm. Yeah, what a great idea.
Can you get that done by next week?
I think I can. I'll be in Ireland, but I think I can do it. Because oh my God, that's such a good question and a good idea. This is the deal. Exactly what you just said about they don't feel cared for. They feel, misunderstood. So true. And I think if you could train your front line to understand that our clients are almost 90% of the time coming to us in a crisis, because if they're coming to an elder lawyer, I can assure you it's because they're in a crisis. they didn't do their preparation, or they did it and they don't know if it's good enough or whatever. That's why they're calling. We are definitely crisis attorneys, and most people don't understand that about our work, but we are. And so that being said, your front desk people, your, people who are going to meet with them first, even if it's a paralegal or whatever, you need to understand, number one, you're dealing with someone in a crisis. Number two, that you need to make sure that you are not giving them such complex ideas and thought processes and things that they need to do that you're just adding to their stress, right? Mm-hmm. It needs to be simple. If I need 3 things from you, bring in your papers, bring in any information you can find. You don't have to read it. You don't have to know what your mom had. Just bring in what you have. And when you get here, we will discuss what the next step is.
I love that you said that in regards to crisis, because so often when I'm interviewing people and they're making a transition from, say, PI or ambulance chasers or whatever it might be, area of law, where it is, son's in the jail cell and we need to get him out.
Right.
They are a crisis, but a lot of times I say the quality of the client coming in is, they're typically a fewer days ahead than behind, number one. Number two, it is not necessary. It is emotionally charged, and you have to understand the magnitude of the crisis is emotionally charged. A lot of times with probate, we're like, it's not really a crisis, death, it is
right.
To get the client in to calm them down, but the paperwork, if you will, isn't. But Medicaid planning, be it things of nature, they call it crisis planning.
Yes.
A lot of times, I think the support team really need to understand that, because the reason clients will hire you, the flip side of my definition of anxiety, of feeling, unsafe, undervalued, or not valued, and not cared for, is that the flip side of that, the reason that clients do hire you is because they feel acknowledged, they feel safe, and they feel understood. And your client service coordinator, your receptionist, whatever technology you use for the person on the front line, your director of first impressions, they really need to understand that it is, the client's crisis, regardless of our definition of it, is irrelevant.
Right, exactly. And it's a continuing relationship. I mean, that crisis doesn't end after the first meeting. So they're still thinking for perhaps quite a long time, a few weeks, a month, while you're trying to do Medicaid planning, you're moving money around, you're trying to get deeds redone, things like that. They're constantly thinking every time they talk to you, it's a crisis. And so you have to be able to continue that caring attitude throughout the relationship until the deep breath is taken and they feel completely and 100% cared for. And I'm going to assure you right now, that's what's going to get you more clients in the door, because they're going to tell everyone how they felt cared for in a crisis.
And that's why we call it hug planning, because after that deep breath is typically a giant hug, and they start bringing you cookies and brownies.
Right.
From law firms all the time. Like, our clients will just stop by, because we all know when you're in a crisis situation and you're able to give away the pieces that are not your unique ability, especially when it comes to paperwork, and you're in, you're still in the emotional trauma of it all. And especially as a caregiver, I mean, caregiver wasn't even a term that was used very long ago, right?
Yeah, oh my gosh, yes.
Fairly
absolutely.
new term.
Yes, right. Yeah, fairly new term in a fairly small area of the law still. It is just now being taught in law schools. Just now. Elder law is a law school class. And honestly, lawyers who have been practicing this for as long as I have, well over 25 years, will tell you that the complexity of elder law is just as daunting as estate law or personal injury law, or, there is continuing complexity surrounding this. So thank God they're teaching in law school, but it's an area of law that's come into its own and is still misunderstood for sure.
So tell us what would be your nuggets, if you will, and your takeaways or your tips or techniques that you would like to leave with our listeners in regards to this survival guide, if you will, to use internally in their law firm and to kind of integrate into the fabric of their culture for the attorney employee, in regards to really understanding what it means to be a caregiver and or the client. And sometimes it's a client caregiver, no?
Right. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So number one, I would love every law firm everywhere to embrace an understanding of how caregiving has an impact on your employees' lives, period. Quite frankly, I'd like every employer to do that, law firm or no. I'd like you to address the fact that you may, in fact, have solutions to caregiving problems that your employees aren't taking care of, either in your community, like we have aging and adult services in every community in the country, that has free services and things that can help caregivers, or within your own insurance plan. You'd be shocked at how many people in their health insurance plan have benefits attached to caregiving that people don't even know about, and even employers don't know about. So I would like you to do that for your employees and yourself, as an employer. Investigate what you have as caregiving resources for your own employees. And let me tell you, this then translates, obviously, if it's community resource, into something you can give to your clients who are, in fact, caregivers, right? Now you know something maybe nobody else knows about resources for caregivers who are your clients. And then if you are an elder lawyer and either in a law firm where everyone's not an elder lawyer, let's start with that. If you're an elder lawyer in a law firm where everyone's not an elder lawyer, I really would like you to make yourself known to your partners and what you do. You would be surprised how often I have clients come to me with documents that were prepared by their lawyer who has elder lawyers in the firm, and these documents do not meet what elder law requirements have to have. And I'm like, they have elder lawyers in that firm. Why didn't somebody tell you to talk to them? So if you're an elder lawyer in a law firm, and it's not just elder lawyers, I would like you to go introduce yourself to your partners and tell them exactly what you do, because I'll bet they don't know completely.
I hear that all. It is so amazing to me.
Am I right, Molly?
Oh my goodness. So 20 years I've been in this industry, and I cannot tell you how many attorneys that are coming, maybe hanging their own shingle, leaving a big firm, what have you, and they may have ran the quote unquote elder law or estate planning department.
Right.
And when they talk about it, they come with such a level of defeat because they say, nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear about what I do. My partners don't even know what we do. I try to tell them. They have no interest. They think it's boring. They think it's sitting in front of a computer typing up a will or deed,
right.
have you. They have no idea. So I love that you just said that when you went of even just creating some kind of lunch and learn and educating people, because when I do have attorneys that have the courage to speak their truth, so to speak,
right.
and to educate, to motivate, and insist on educating the entire firm,
right.
so often the partners, now, depending on how big the firm, they're like,
right.
oh my God, there's that much opportunity in regards to revenue streams, et cetera, out there. And I'm like, however you have to get their attention.
Right, exactly,
you need
of course.
to educate them on that. And as they start practicing in estate planning and elder law, especially elder law, I don't know, I think I saw, it's been a while since I pulled the stats, but it's like 5,000 elder law attorneys in the country.
I heard that same thing. So it's compared to, I think, how many lawyers do you have in the country? 300,000, something like that in the whole country? 500,000,
Oh,
think about that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and putting that, one of my most popular events for people, not for professional lawyers, is what is the difference between an estate lawyer and elder lawyer? And people come to that in droves because they didn't know there was a difference. And when I tell them the difference and I teach the difference, they are, dramatically surprised. So yeah, don't assume because you have an estate lawyer in your firm, anyone is actually doing elder law.
What a fantastic, such a simplistic title for an event that have people coming in droves, but it resonates.
Yes, yes. So that's called Wanted, Dead or Alive. What's the difference between an elder lawyer and an estate lawyer?
Oh, fun.
Yes.
So I love that piece of advice that you give to our attorneys. Educate. If you're in a big firm, or estate planning and elder law is not a full scope of your practice,
right?
Fight to be heard.
Right. And then finally, if you're in an elder law firm, I mean, I've met you and I know you, and I think you guys are fantastic. And the only thing I might suggest to you is to add to your fantasticness, because you already are, is perhaps you might want to ask your clients if they know of any benefits that they have at their work that would help them with their crisis situation, whether it's a better family medical and leave plan, whether there are actual, they have free services. I found one where they pay for adult daycare, and people did not know that. The employee didn't know, oh my gosh, my company will pay to take my mom to adult daycare so I can get a break or not worry about her while I'm at work. Things like that. It's just a little piece that we're often missing as elder lawyers, to just ask our clients if they have a benefit they're unaware of to help them with their caregiving life.
I had no idea that there was such a benefit out there.
Oh, yeah. There's tons of them. And they fall largely in large corporations. They fall under what they call EAPs, which are employee assistance programs. And they often have people come in and talk, and they have platforms where there's benefits. I mean, there's tons of stuff. I do quite a few webinars for a company called Torchlight, and Torchlight sells a platform to corporations to really, for only two things: help your clients with elder caregiving and help your clients with children with special needs caregiving.
Oh my goodness, you're speaking right into everyone's listening here today. That's the wheelhouse. Yep. Torchlight. Excellent.
Torchlight. Look it up. It's in LinkedIn. It's all over the place. I know that they have a huge customer base, and they're getting bigger every day. And they're just an amazing education and useful tool about where are the resources, both within our company and outside of our company, to help you with caregiving, either for an elder or a special needs child. Isn't that incredible? I know.
Yes. I'm sitting here thinking, and I just Googled real quick, the Family Medical Leave Act.
Yes.
Of 1993. That was like yesterday, right?
Right.
And when you're doing your hiring process, attorneys and or employees listening, in regards to when you're doing your hiring process, and I know, Cathy, you and I have had this conversation a while ago, and you're worried about small children, et cetera. And when you use the term caregiver, most often people are like, oh, nope, my kids are in college, what have you. And most humans don't even really, they understand that terminology high level, but I think employers and employees as well can go a level deeper in regards to tell me a little bit about your parents, and or are you caring for any elderly, grandparents, what have you, and really dissecting that terminology. Because when you are a helper, when you are a caregiver, a lot of times you just negate it. You're like, well, that's what I have to do, roll up my sleeves and just do it, and the toll that it takes. But when you, as an employer, you shine the spotlight on that and you acknowledge it, just like you acknowledge things for your clients, and you have a level of compassion, and you talk about that in the interviewing process, and or if you go back and decide, I even think, even if you are doing estate planning and elder law, it'd be great to do a presentation, the difference between estate planning and elder law for every employee in your office, and have a really great lunch and learn conversation about who does this impact? Do you resonate with this? Yes,
exactly. I mean, it's definitely, again, it's the dirty little secret that I'm a caregiver. What you just said, if you self-identify, and there are massive amounts of research articles written that say caregivers don't self-identify. if you are even, my husband tore his quad tendon last Christmas. Of course, great time of year to not be able to walk. And that was a very long road to recovery and rehab. And that required a walker and crutches and a bath seat and helping him shower. And, and if anybody would normally say to me, "Are you a caregiver?" I'd be like, "No, I'm helping my husband." But I added him to my list of all the people I've taken care of, because that was, several months of me having to pack his lunch if I left, because he couldn't get downstairs for a few weeks. So if I had to go out, I had to make sure he had food and he had, the telephone and things like that, because he wasn't capable of doing that. He couldn't go up and down the stairs. So see, caregiving, it can be short-term or it can be long-term, but it doesn't mean you're not doing it.
Yeah, and long-term doesn't mean forever. Sometimes long-term is 6 months. That's long-term when you're the caregiver and the patient.
Because it changes your life dramatically.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Wow. Well, listeners, I would highly, highly recommend, and it'll be down here in the show notes, that you do hop over to Cathy's website, cathysikorski.com /speaker. And I would definitely look at some of these presentations and the programs that she offers. Join her blog in an absolute minimum, so you can hear how she is educating all over the country, and you can see where she's speaking. Maybe I would go and hop and attend some of her events that she's speaking at as well, really just to get the essence of what she's speaking about in the room. And by all means, this does impact your employees. Start from the front of the house, if you will, at the reception desk, and educate your employees in regards to, it really is a new terminology in regards to caregiving, and especially on your employees. A lot of times, like Cathy said, it's the hidden secret. It's a family secret, so to speak, right, Cathy?
It truly is. And don't, not to be crass or anything, but this is not an area of law where we're not making any money. It is an income stream, because you are providing, to me, a much needed, absolutely it's a service that people aren't finding until it's too late. And so when you are finally providing it, you are so necessary. It is so dramatically important for you to be there, that they understand your value. And so it is not, you have value. You are an attorney. You've worked hard. You've educated yourself. This practice has enormous value. And so, we should be valued, but you can feel so great about the value that you're providing. I love that about my work.
And it's such a defining value for your employees, that you're talking about it and you're identifying it, because right there, compassion starts at the top with the employer, recognizing it. I love looking into some of these benefits. Number one, for your own house, where you can offer it to your employees, but also that you can educate your client caregivers in regards to what's available for them, just as much as you would for, personal care plans and everything else within planning. But a lot of times we don't look at the health benefits.
And I think that is the beauty of this job in general, is that we are continuously able to give extra added value. And it delights me no end, right? Just to be able to do that. Yes.
The value is, it's limitless. I talk to attorneys where they share a bunch of lunch and learns they're doing, presentations that they do at some of the different facilities in their marketplace, community rooms, things of that nature. And you're a perfect testament to that, of all these different muffins and mimosas for caregivers. There's I've heard an attorney that's just knocking it out of the park with a program called what is it? A boot camp for social workers. There's,
Love it.
Another program that I've heard that an attorney, it's a 6-week course that he's teaching at churches all over the place and actually has licensed it to elder law attorneys across the country.
Fantastic.
Called Growing Old Gracefully. There's no end to
Right.
you communicating your value, and it's not
Right.
about lead generation. That's
No.
the strategic byproduct of that, but it's about education and awareness and advocacy.
Exactly. And how can we, any of us, feel bad about that? We can only feel good about that.
Yes, and again, I love if you're in a bigger firm or if elder law is just a small portion of your practice or your part, the entire law firm. I love what you said, Cathy. Go and educate your partners and every person under that roof in that building in regards to what you do. Just like you would advocate for your clients, advocate
Right.
for yourself to be heard about the importance of this area of law.
Because I assure you, it is affecting almost every client that walks in the door, whether they're your client or not.
Yes, great. So I would say go to Cathy's website. I'll have it in the bottom of the show note links here. And in there, you can join her blog and also be able to get a copy of her book, read it and see, and read it from a place of how if you're an employee reading it. Because if you're an elder law attorney, there may not necessarily be tremendous ahas in there, but think of there's other people that you need to impact. Number one is your employees. First and foremost, I would highly recommend even making that mandatory for your onboarding process. And then number two, something that you can give to every client, even if so often I hear attorneys say to me, oh, we don't do elder law. We only do estate planning in our
Right.
practice. And it's such a shame to hear that so often because they're worried about learning new law and implementation and forms and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I'm not saying you have to become an elder law attorney. What I am saying is it's a gift that you can give to your clients to educate them. And if they raise their hand and say, I need this, then you can figure out how you're going to make that work.
Exactly.
But at least giving them the education, don't make it so a mountain out of a molehill, so to speak, and think that we're saying advocating for you to be an elder law attorney, but really just that education you can communicate, and it's a value add that you have of just giving them this awareness.
Yep. Everything you give them is value added, and it will come back to you 100-fold. I promise.
Oh, yes. I cannot tell you how many people call me and they'll say to me, oh my God, I heard about you from so-and-so. They gave me a copy of your book and or forward me your blog or a podcast or something. And I'm like, really? That's so interesting because they didn't hire me. They're not a client. And I don't say this to the person, but I'm like so deeply grateful from this reason. Not like, oh, well, how would this guy, send them when they didn't hire me? That's not the perspective I come from. I'm like, wow, like, me just giving them a nugget of education and information and something that they can do to help them move forward made such an impact that they shared that with somebody else.
And I think that's really the theme of today.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. All right, that's a good stopping point for us. I know you are getting ready to go to Ireland and enjoy. Oh, it's my favorite place in the world.
Well, I will have a Guinness for you.
Oh, great.
Thank you, Molly.
Oh, thank you for being our guest today. And again, listeners, I can't say enough of hop over to Cathy's website, watch her presentations, her programs, and her blog and her books, and just educate yourself and share the message, because this new age of caregivers, it really truly needs to be addressed, and we need to be making certain that everybody has awareness around it. Thank you, Cathy.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, this has been another episode of Hiring and Empowering Solutions podcast, where legal dream teams of entrepreneurs in the entrepreneurs world really do come true. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Until then, have a great day.